Okay. Good evening, everybody. So good to see each and every one of you here. I'm honored to introduce tonight's speaker, which is a different kind of speaker than our usual speaker, and I'm personally very excited to hear his story. And our speaker tonight is from the Lord's Place. His name is Wenfred Dorsey. He currently works for the Lord's Place as a case manager for prison re-entry and an independent contractor for the Civil Drug Court, an organization whose mission is to end substance abuse and homelessness. His goal in the world is to heal wounds of our community through mentorship, life coaching, re-entry, and counseling. Wenfred is happily married to his wife, Anne. They have a 25-year-old son and 7-year-old twin girls. And without further ado, Wenfred, we look forward to hearing from you on persistence. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Relax, it's okay. As she mentioned, my name is Wenfred Dorsey. I work for the Lord's Place, and I've been working for the Lord's Place off and on for the past 9 years. And I'm here tonight to talk about persistence. Persistence. And I think about that word persistence. What is persistence? What does persistence look like? What does persistence feel like? And for many years, I've thought about persistence in a positive way. But after reading Webster's definition, I looked at it differently. And it says this: persistence, the state of persisting, stated pursuit of what is undertaken, perseverance in a good or evil course. More generally, that which is evil and injurious to others. Persistence. Good, bad, positive, negative. And when I think about persistence, I think about many different people. And I read in your curriculum some examples of individuals who have persisted through some tough times. Abe Lincoln was one of them. Thomas Edison was one of them. He persisted. It took him 11,000 times to come up with the light bulbs. I mean, can you imagine? 11,000 times. I probably would have quit after 5 or 6, I don't know. But 11,000 times he persisted. But I can't help but to think about this guy, this individual, who was drafted and is relevant today. In fact, yesterday, he kind of put a stamp on it. In the 6th round, in the NFL, he was probably the slowest quarterback to ever run the 40-yard dash in the history of the combine. And he was told that he would probably never ever be successful in sports, in football. Fast forward, he's been to 9 Super Bowls, 3 consecutive Super Bowls, back to back to back. Who was that?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. And he's the highest paid NFL player in the league. Persistence. That's what persistence looks like. When people tell you that you can't do something, when people tell you that it's not possible, when they tell you that you'll never amount to anything, you push through. Persistence. That's what persistence looks like. Persistence also looks like 7-year-old twin girls. One's name is Demi, and the other's name is Zoe. My girls. One, Zoe, she's persistent about what she wants to do. In fact, she loves to, when she was 4 years old, she wanted to learn how to do a cartwheel correctly. And what she did, she went on the internet, YouTube, to find out how to do a correct cartwheel. And she worked, and she worked, and she worked, and she worked, until one day she said, "Daddy, I finally got it. I can do a correct cartwheel. Watch me." And she did a nice little cartwheel. Persistence. Another 7-year-old twin who's very creative. Very creative. Even in the face of being put on restriction, even in the face of daddy saying, "Hey, you're on punishment," or whatever the case may be, she's persistent with her creativity. She will cut out little things. She will cut t-shirts. She will cut hats. She will cut bags. She will cut anything she can to make something creative for you. Persistence. Persistent. Never stop. Never giving up. What does it feel like? What does persistence look like? When I think about persistence, I have to think about my life. From 1989 to 1995, I was very, very persistent. I was persistent in getting what I wanted by any means necessary. I was persistent in doing whatever I thought I was big and bad enough to do by any means necessary. From 1989, I was in Birmingham, Alabama, hanging out with friends in I'm a professional student, so I've been in like 7 colleges. I think my second college, but I was persistent. I was persistent in a negative way. Here's that negative persistence. I was persistent in wanting to make money the fast way. I was persistent in doing things that were not right. Persistent. I didn't care. I did whatever I thought I was big and bad enough to do. Persistent. Fast forward, 1995. September 19th, approximately 8:45 p.m., my negative persistence ran out. Bet you can't guess what happened. I was arrested. I was arrested for attempt to possess X amount of drugs with the intent to distribute. Approximately 8:45 p.m. at 5726 Glades Road in Anniston, Alabama. Never forget it. Where my negative persistence drove me. And we have to be careful about our persistence, because it can drive you in a negative way if we don't channel it in the right way. I went through many years of heartaches, many years of pain that I caused my family. Had football scholarships, had opportunities to do a whole lot of different things, but my negative persistence took me in a different direction. Fast forward, June 4th, 2004, I was released. Came home, got married, had children, had not been to college or any type of school for many, many years, but I still had this persistence in me. I wanted to go back and get my college degree. I went back to Palm Beach Atlantic University, got my bachelor's degree from Palm Beach Atlantic University in 2006. After getting my bachelor's degree in 2006, I got my master's degree in 2009, persistence. Even after I've made a lot of mistakes, even in failing, I continue to persist. My past was dark, but my future was bright. I did not allow what happened to me in the past dictate what I was going to do in the future. Because that same energy I took negatively, I took that and I put it in a positive direction. Got my master's degree. Got, things were just wonderful, awesome. 2010, I started working for the Lord's Place. I worked for the Lord's Place from 2010 to 2013. And I left work in 2013 to be a stay-at-home dad, to take care of my twin girls, because they were like 1.5 at the time. Persistence. That takes some persistence to take care of twin girls, boys, or whatever. And but at the same time, I continued to persist in doing what I believe in my heart that I was supposed to do. I volunteered for the Lord's Place, persistence. I volunteered, not getting paid, because I knew that that was something that I was supposed to do, continue to do. Persistence. Came back 2017 and started working again as a case manager in prison reentry. And from 2017 until about a week ago, started out as a case manager. A week ago, I was promoted to reentry supervisor. See, there are times in your life when you don't think that your persistence will pay off. There are times in your life when it may look like nobody's watching. You know the old saying, what you do in the dark will come to the light? See, a lot of people see that in a negative way. See, what you do behind closed doors, the working hard, putting in that work, putting in that time, burning the night oil, serving people, it will pay off. If you don't ever quit, if you put in the work, if you put in the time, if you make some sacrifices and continue to persist, it will pay off. And that's what happened to me. I continued to persist. I continued to put the work in. No matter, I wasn't trying to get paid. I wasn't looking to get paid. But I constantly put in the work, put in the time, made sacrifices, did what I thought and believed in my heart of hearts I was doing was the right thing. And it'll pay off. And so always remember this. If you don't quit, you will win. No matter what the past, your past may look like. No matter what obstacles may come up in the future, because trust me, if you keep living, things will happen in your life that will cause you to either persist and push or retreat. Life happens to everyone. No matter what color you are, no matter where you come from, no matter your mom or your dad, things happen. But you have to have something on the inside of you that tells you that you cannot quit. You will not quit. Regardless to what's going on in my life, regardless to what has happened in my life in the past, I will push forward and I will persist, because if I don't quit, I will win. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Was it like a quick moment, or did it take a while for you to realize that your persistence was going in the wrong direction?
Say it one more time.
Like at what point, like was it quick, or did it take a while for you to realize that you needed to change paths in your life?
Well, most people don't see the light, they feel the heat. They don't change because they see light. They change because they feel heat. And I'll say me, I felt heat, and in the process of feeling the heat, I saw the light. Does that make sense? And over time, I didn't just wake up and say, oh, a bright light from above, and it was like, I did it and it's done, and oh, thank you. Yes. No, it was a process because of the heat and because of all the things that I, gone through, and I am where I am today. I'm far from perfect, but God knows I'm not what I used to be. Did that answer your question? Yes, sir.
I congratulate you. It's inspiring. Who was your influences growing up, and where did the need and desire to have an education come from?
My influences were my parents and my grandmother, and my great-grandmother. And I was thinking about her when I was talking. My great-grandmother was born in the 1800s, and she's originally from Alabama. And I'm told about her story. I'm told about by family members about the type of woman she was. When she was young in Otagoville, Alabama, my family somehow, through her, acquired 238 acres of land. This is on the back heels of slavery. So that said a lot about who this woman was. My great-grandfather lost, he somehow got into a gambling thing and he lost everything. And she got it back. And so that was inspiring to me about persistence. That's a person, I've always looked up to her. And my grandmother, who taught me about my faith, who taught me to serve. Because I would always see her when I was younger, and she would take me with her to serve other people. She would take her friends to the doctor. She would take them to the store. She would serve at her church. She was always serving. I could never get away from serving. I mean, no matter, I would have to be serving somehow. My serving got perverted, but it got back on track because these are some people who inspire me and how to serve humanity and serve people. And that's what I do today. Is that?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would assume that working with imprisoned people that are getting out,
Yes, sir.
that those men and women face some real obstacles to getting gainful employment, re-entering into society, whatever. And I'm sure there are setbacks for them. How do you instill persistence and keep them moving forward and moving forward?
Many of them want love and support, and we support them because many of them we hold their hands, literally hold their hands and take them to different places, take them to get their license, take them to get their ID, take them to get other assistance in the community. And there are times when they hit roadblocks that when you fill out that application and it says, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Check yes or no. And what inspires them is when I tell my story. And I don't think I'm any different than anyone. And I let them know that just like I came out of it, I'm going to walk with you out of it. And that helps them, that gives them a sense of hope that someone can identify with them. And that gives them a sense of hope and peace. That, you know what, it's tough, I'm struggling, but if he did it, I can too. Yes, sir.
Quite a few years ago in the Rotary Club, we worked at the Lord's Place and serving food. And it's been a number of years. And just brief us on how that's progressed over the years, namely what's changed at the Lord's Place. A lot of people.
I think we have 100 employees now, 100 employees. And I was speaking with the gentleman in the back. We were talking about when it started and how it started with Brother Bob in a dumpster, saying that they need money to really help people who are homeless. It started from a dumpster to Cafe Joshua to the family campus that was in Boynton to culinary arts, different types of apprenticeships. Then it went from that to dealing with jail reentry and prison reentry. Then it has expanded. Now we have grants and funding where we OHR, Operation Home Ready, where we assist individuals who have been chronically homeless for years. It has grown. In fact, it has grown when I left in 2013 and came back in 17, but I never really left because I volunteered. But anyway, it has grown tremendously in 4 years, a little 3.5, 4 years that I was away, and we're growing every single day. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, sort of, I remember a very small copy chapter, and those of us from Rotary went over and either sat at tables or we served the food. And
Yeah.
that was, I guess, maybe 14 years ago.
I remember when the first time I got hired, I remember coming from an interview and going in the front door and seeing individuals all over the place. Because it was like because they would serve breakfast, coffee, and bagels and donuts in the morning and serve lunch. And then on Saturdays when I worked at the Engagement Center, which the Engagement Center has been shut down because of the Lewis Center and just different things. Money's a funnel in different ways. That has changed. Now culinary arts is like, it's a big thing. They serve lunch and it's just like, they come in and they wait and have trays, just like a real restaurant. And the food is good. The food is great. Yeah. So it's changed tremendously. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for
I want
having
to
me.
ask, what do they do to prevent those who've already left jail to have tendencies to commit crimes again and eventually go back to jail?
What do we do?
Yeah,
Preventative?
to prevent them from
going back. I think you give a person some dignity, man, and some hope. Hope deferred makes a heart sick. But if you give a person some hope, you give them a chance. And sometimes hope comes in a job. Hope comes in a relationship, a genuine relationship with someone that you can really lean on and trust. Starting with that. But we also have case managers and counselors. We have therapists who provide therapy for the individuals. And so those are some of the things we do to prevent that. And yeah, those are some of the things.
You work hand in hand with those?
Yes. I go to Sago. Have you ever heard of Sago Palm? Anyone? It's a state prison. Good. But I'm not. Sago Palm is a state prison that's in Pahokee, out west. And I go out once a week to gentlemen who are going to be released. In fact, I have 4 guys being released, 4 men being released from the 25th of January up until the 9th of February. And I do that every week and case manage and, check on them, say, hey man, how things going? How's the family? What about that? You told me last week, what's going on with that? Kind of check in and a little accountability piece for them. And to be honest with you, it helps me to stay accountable. What do I mean by that? It's how can I share or shed, light on certain things about how a person should live their life and not live a certain lifestyle myself. That helps me keep me together as well. It's and a lot of guys say, man, I really appreciate you coming out. Yeah, I appreciate coming because you guys do a lot for me as well. Yes, ma'am.
What have you learned from working with people who are trying to get their life on track? Is there anything specific that you've gained from working with them?
What have I learned? I learned that there are a lot of hurting people in this world. I learned that we can, as humans, we can judge people quickly about where they come from, what they look like, and assume and judge. And I've learned that I have to be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I've learned that this world still needs a lot of help, people. I've learned that we have a whole lot of work to do. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that you would still have a lot of negative persistence if, like, you didn't end up going to jail that night you went? I'm trying to say it in the nicest way possible.
Say it. Just say it. Do you think you learn if you haven't gone to jail? Just say it. Just say it. No. I had a hard head. I mean, I've had several opportunities. I mentioned I was a career college student. I've had scholarships, more scholarships than you can count for football. And I just blew it because I wanted to do what I wanted. I'm like Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. I wanted to do it my way. And it did not work. And there had to be a divine intervention to stop me in my tracks before I killed myself or someone else. And that stopped me. And it got my attention. And it's had my attention ever since. Now, would I have trouble? No. So you say, I would have stopped. I was hard-headed. Yes, ma'am.
So there's been quite a bit of talk in this course about your passion, your mission, your goals. And we're talking to a bunch of high school students here.
Yes.
And many of them don't know what those goals or passions are yet. You said after you stayed home to take care of your children, you said you volunteered at the Lord's place because you knew it was what you were supposed to do. I want to know how you knew it and how you found the place that you needed to.
I look back over my life. And like I mentioned, my grandmother earlier, I could not get away from serving people. That was instilled in me. That was
Ridiculous.
I did. But I did. I served in a different way. It was wicked. It was wicked. I mentioned earlier that it was perverted. Serving people, thinking I'm doing a service. And I was doing a service. But it was a wicked service. And so, as teens coming up, how do you find your passion? How do you know what you were born to do? A lot of questions people ask, say, well, what would you do for free? And that's some of the questions they may ask me. What would you do for free and do it for the rest of your life? That's a starting point. What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? Oh, texting my friend. I can't get paid to text. I can't, And how did I know that was for me? That was something inside of me that told me, that directed me in that area. But also, I believe that there's confirmation through other people. And you have to ask friends. You have to talk to people who will be honest with you about who you are. Say, man, what do you think about me? What do you think about me public speaking? Man, you're great at it. I like that because you're passionate about it, you love it, you're persistent about it. But I knew what I was supposed to do. I know it today. There's nothing else in this world that I've done. It's serving people, service to people. And I've done it for free, and I'll do it. So, but I get paid. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And you know, you can go through life trying to find your way, trying to find, you know, where do I fit in this thing? Where do I fit in this thing? You know, how do I fit into this puzzle? How do I fit? Where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? You have a little time, but that time will fly by before you know it. I'd encourage, you know, all of you, because you're not tomorrow's leaders, you're today's leaders. And what I've seen is that you all are going to lead this country to a better place. In my opinion. It's just my opinion. So saddle up. Don't wait till tomorrow. You're not tomorrow's, you're today's leaders. Right now. So lead on. Yes, yes, sir.
So you stated basically that what made you change was you realized how negatively your actions could affect you. You said you were feeling the heat. I have a cousin who you could say was following a similar path. A lot of our family doesn't really give him advice anymore. He doesn't see the importance of schooling, and he's in that negative area where he's kind of lost. So how would you, or how could I advise him or talk to him before that heat comes or before something happens?
Give him my phone number. You said, how could I give him my phone number? And how would I talk to him? I look at, I weigh things now. Is it, you know, it's kind of like, is it profitable? Is it not profitable? Does it make sense? Okay, am I gonna, like, how's my life gonna look 5 years from now? How can my life potentially look 5 years from now? And I really think about all the time I wasted, this kind of a sidebar, but it's not a sidebar. I look at all the time that I wasted running the streets. There's no pension in the streets. None. No retirement plan. None. No Social Security. None. And for me, that doesn't add up. Doesn't work. Doesn't make sense to do that. I mean, you can get pension. I mean, you can get Social Security working on a small time. You know, anything. So that it does not add up for me. And to have a conversation with him, I'd have a real heart-to-heart conversation that, you know, I wouldn't say in any kind of conversation I've had. I would have, but I would have a serious conversation with him. Not give you my phone number and have him call me.
And then in addition to that, I feel like that's a solution, like for a personal level, but then you could also say, how would you approach generally for a lot of the young teens and just teenagers that are stuck in negative places where they're lost and don't know how to get out of the systematic criminal system?
I think teens and teens don't do what you say, they do what you do, for the most part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you need to do this, you need to do that, but what you're doing, what they're seeing modeled is something completely different. Now, what I've seen in different communities is that teens, all they've ever seen was negative stuff. That's it. They brought up mama, daddy, everybody. If you look at the history of it, I know of families that everyone from the 17-year-old grandson up to the 80-year-old great-grandmother has gone to prison. Several families. That's all they've ever seen. That's all they've ever known. Am I making an excuse for them? No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that's what they've seen. That's what they've always known. And so there are some people that feel like this is my lot in life. This is the way it started. This is the way it's going to end. But we have to pull people out of that, put them in a space, a positive environment where they can be nurtured, where they can be taught, where they can be empowered, where they can be encouraged and inspired to be the very best person that they can be. And hopefully, because if we send them back to that, that's a problem. So how do we deal with that? We call, in reentry, we call it family reunification. We work on both sides. We work with with the returning citizen, and we work with the family member. Say, hey, this is how, this is what's happening. So, how do we come to some common ground to try to help so-and-so's life to be positive, to get that person ahead in life. And if we have to put them in housing so we can help him or her become a better person, that's what we'll do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, Wenfred, first of all, thank you for coming and sharing your story today with us, and congratulations on your transformation. My question for you is that, I sort of heard your narrative, really sort of your first step towards the path into life really being a quest for completing your college degree, going on to get your master's. And so much of what you described in terms of the work that you do today, whether it's with the Lord's Place specifically as it relates to reentry and some of the other services that you guys provide, you don't necessarily think of those skill sets as learned skill sets within academia. I'm just curious really what types of studies or courses did you really gravitate to academically, and then how did you sort of bring that into what you're doing today?
My bachelor's is in ministry, and I have a master's in counseling and psychology. And so with prison reentry, we deal with a lot of counseling, case management, psychology, and therapeutic work that we do. And so that casework in academia helps me in that area. Also, in addition to, I'm bilingual.
No, that explains.
I speak academia's language, but I also speak the language of the returning citizens that we deal with. And so that helps me I'm able to transfer street in a different language.
So did you sort of lock in on this sort of path of service specifically as you sort of went through the academic portion in terms of course selection, the different skills you wanted to arm yourself with going into this next stage?
Yes. When I took up ministry, in the ministry track, there's a lot of leadership and service and what we had to do as far as ministry is concerned. In counseling and psychology, believe it or not, they kind of flow together in a sense, the two of them. And so they work hand in hand. Yes, sir.
You obviously have a responsibility to recruit more people like yourself to expand the services. Is there a big need at this point, or is it difficult to recruit people like yourself?
No, there's a need, but there are a lot of men and women who have really transformed and turned their lives around that we don't talk about. In fact, our department, Josh Gibson, is one guy Josh, Anthony, Guy, myself, who have gone through the system, and now they're working in re-entry. The biggest challenge is finances, being able to fund these initiatives. That's the biggest challenge, being able to fund those initiatives. If the resources were there, we work with what we have. We're going to do it until we pass out data. But that's the biggest challenge. And finding the people, the individuals now. There are a lot of men and women who are ready to march and make an impact in this world, in spite of their past. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for coming to speak with us today.
Thank you.
After you were released from prison, what was the hardest part for you about re-entering the society as it was at that moment?
The hardest part, being away from normal society and being institutionalized, it was a challenge. having to stand up for a 4 o'clock count every day for 10 years. Every single day. In the past, and in the last 5 years of that, having to say my number, 201600001. You know, I never forget that number, like my Social Security. You know, so that was a challenge. Being in huge crowds around people, that was a huge challenge. And me, by nature, I would say I wasn't extrovert, but that taught me like introvert. You know, and is it trust issues? And that was a challenge. And not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring. You know, but I persisted. You know, I can recall losing 2 jobs in one day. I left one job and went to another job. I went to an orientation for the new job, and the new job told me that we can't hire at orientation. After orientation was over, we can't hire you because some alias name that you used on the application, and you know, it was a huge challenge. And that was a serious moment for me because I had, as you know, the little commercial, the devil and the angel, and you know, Angel was saying, it's gonna be okay. Just keep going. The devil was like, dude, didn't I tell you? I'm like, right, really? See, what you need to do is this, right? But I chose not to do that. Here I am today. Yes, sir.
You told us that you went to meet with these 4 inmates who were going to be released. Can you tell us a little bit about whether you can see in your early meetings with them which of them are more likely to succeed in the reentry process?
You know, I had a young man months ago who, when my first encounter with him, he didn't know what he wanted. He didn't know what he wanted to do. And when I saw him, he looked as if it's like it was just he had a look like he was under the influence of something. This is inside. And so he got out January 1st. And I didn't tell anyone, I just kept it to myself because I didn't want to prejudge him. And he got out January 1st. We had a bed for him. He came in, he told me every session we had, I'm homeless, I don't have anywhere to go, I don't have any family, if I go here, this is going to happen. But something inside of me was saying, he was released January 1st, I haven't seen him since. And you can see just having certain sessions and having certain conversations, they're not consistent. You know, and you listen to what individuals are not saying as opposed to what they're saying. They leave certain things out, and then they forget that they said that the last time that you guys met, and that happens. You know, unfortunately, that's par for the course. Unfortunately. Yes, sir.
To push on my last question, just to my understanding and my research, I really agree with the subject that it takes a whole community to raise one child and to receive people that you say come from criminal activity. How important do you think it is to promote the well-being of communities that suffer with criminal activity and poverty? And how would you describe the best way to better these communities?
I think it's very important to serve the underserved. I think it's very important to jumpstart or to give a boost to those who were left behind. I think it's very important to take those resources, be smart with those resources and not just dump resources because you have the resources to dump and to put a Band-Aid on something. No, I think we have to be wise and smart with how we do that. How do we do that? I used to work for Weed and Seed. Anybody ever heard of Weed and Seed? Bless you. Weed and Seed. It's a Department of Justice. It was a Department of Justice initiative that went to certain communities. It went to the hardest, roughest communities. And the weed and the seed aspect of it was, the weeding part of it is with law enforcement. With law enforcement, they will go in and take out the criminal elements and just try to make the community better. That's the weeding. The seeding part is where I came in, and where we weed seed, where we would seed in after-school programs, mentoring programs, parenting programs, those things that we could assist those communities with to help to make it better. Now, many believe that we can just pour money into certain places and it'll make it better. No, we have to put initiatives like that and then pour in the financial resources after you've done the necessary work with the seeding process. I do not believe in just pouring money into certain people. I don't believe in that. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you have a degree in ministry, so I was wondering how your faith has influenced your life path, your persistence, everything really.
My faith is at the top of my list, that has fueled me to be who I am and pushed me to where I am. And I am who I am because of my faith. And those people who have surrounded me and encouraged me along the way.
Do you see any way to help keep people more engaged? I'm sure you know that the statistics are that people are becoming less and less engaged with, their churches, their synagogues, all of those things. Do you see a way to help people become more engaged with that, especially young people, especially, the people who could use it the most?
Do I see a way of helping them become more engaged?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Across the spectrum, we live in a different world now. It's technology. And technology, it's useful, it's good. However, technology has done some things to us that we don't talk as much as we should to each other. We're at the dinner table. I went to a restaurant one night, and there were 7, 8 family members at a restaurant, and everyone, they want an electronic device. Little Johnny, he had his little thing. Susie had her, just texting her friends on Instagram. I mean, everyone, and we disengaged, right? And that drives me crazy because we've disconnected. We don't. If I call you. I'm going to get to your point. I'll call you and you'll text me back. Can't talk right now, or hey, what's going on? Pick up the phone. I mean, really? Or don't, or you text me back. We'll go in this dialogue back and forth, texting. Now, to answer that question, we have to engage people. We have to meet people where they are. If texting, if social media is a vehicle to make people to help us get engaged in their faith or whatever the case may be, let's use that. Let's use that in a positive way. Let's send out blasts, little quotes in the morning. Hey, have a great day. Or you're the most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, honey, I love you. Whatever the case may be. That's a way of engaging, I think. But it's,
Thank you. Well, Tay, are we good? All right, so thank you so much. This was our speaker that we have seen the most response from in terms of questions and answers. So thank you so much for drawing out our students and our mentors. And we were so honored to hear you, and thank you for coming out today. We're going to take a 6-minute break. So, sorry to break up all the discussion. I see there's some really good, meaningful discussion, and I don't want to end that, but I do want us to be able to end on time, which is something that we promised. So, but to end our session, we're going to try this more and more, and it's a great opportunity for you to think about when you're doing your homework, when you're hearing a speaker, when you're sitting in your mentoring sessions, is there something that I feel like that was meaningful to me, or that was a lesson that I can take home that I want to share? It's a really great opportunity for public speaking. No one here is judging you. We're all working it out together, and public speaking really works, that the more you practice, the better you get. But it's a huge part of leadership, is being able to voice your opinions and voice your feelings. So we have some brave souls tonight who are going to share a little bit with us, some of them in groups, and that's also cool. So we're going to start with Maya and Sarah to come on up and share what they gained from persistence. You got this.
So some of the stuff that we talked about, and one of the big things was we looked at the effect of role models, especially on young teen minds like ourselves, and we talked about how motivational and inspirational they can be, and the influence that they have on our lives, and how they can result in motivation and perseverance.
And we also learned about how, especially from the speaker who came up, how you really, in your darkest of days, can pull yourself out of it, can find or visualize, like our past sessions, where you want to go, and you can work your way there and out of the situation you're in if you really believe in yourself and try hard enough. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so another brave volunteer. I don't know if he was volunteered or he is a volunteer, but Zeo Kefo. About. There we go.
Can all of you hear me?
Yeah.
What I've learned from today's session is that you need to be persistent constantly with what you do on an everyday basis if you want to change who you are. From what I've learned from Mr. Dorsey today is that if you've done something in the past that you think will affect your future, you can't be persistent on holding that to you, but you need to be persistent in trying to get rid of it and pushing yourself forward into what you can become rather than what you were and holding yourself to what you were. And I've learned that today, and I will take that to my heart for the rest of my adult life.
Fabulous. All right. Still game? Carla Perez, another brave soul. And then if anybody else, and I didn't come around, you can just raise your hand. We'll have time for 2 more people after. Carla?
Hello, good evening, everybody. I found this topic very, very strong and very eye-opening in many ways, and one of the ways is that persistence can change the way you live your life and continue to live your life, and it can also change other people's life and the way you portray persistence. One of the topics that myself and my mentors and everybody else on the table were elaborating was that the way that you persist in some of your goals can inspire other people. Like for example, my little brother, he's 7 years old, and he has told me before that, oh, I want to be like you. Who he tells me that like he admires me because of the things that I do, so many things that I do, and then I still have time to talk to him, and I still have time for him. And so I guess the way that I persist in my own self inspires him, and so we don't realize that when we are persistent, we can inspire so many people and can help them in so many ways, and that's what I learned today.
Do you have any other volunteers who would like to share something? Devin, come on right up. Devin Ingram.
Hello. One thing that I found really speaking to me was when he said persistence could also be wicked, and I think that's one thing that you can take into account to many of the strong key points in the whole program. And I think one thing that we should all be considerate about before making decisions, before thinking, before acting, is just being mindful of what it is you're trying to accomplish. And I think what changed his whole life course was when he was mindful of his actions due to the incoming repercussions. I think he decided to be more mindful of what he was doing, and that's what changed his persistence from being wicked to something more just and something to help his life turn to the right direction. So I think just being mindful in general, really, that's what I got from this whole day, as well as talking with my table. So, yeah.
Great. One last person, anyone? Are we good? Fabulous. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Cutting your own businesses, cleaning it up. So I think that's what you're talking about, persistence.
If you give up, that's a leader, it shows that you don't have great leadership skills. You're not motivated to do what you know you
I can't say, those were the pieces of this slack off.
You know, so having a coach who's tough on you, that's okay. You know, if every coach said you're great, you're great, you're great, they'd never try and be better. Now, I remember first one.
I thought you should smile during the conference. Whatever being intimidated, there was something that was and you need to find out what that is.
You guys come in and
That's usually the difference. Let's say I 10 call.